All right, Mike, we made it back again. A Wednesday edition. I got to look at my calendar. Wednesday edition of Doggin It. How you doing, my man?
Good. Another day, another person to torture.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I've been looking forward to this one. As soon as I got him to commit, I knew I had him on the hook and I wasn't gonna let him off. So we're real excited to get Karl on. For those of you who can, or anybody who's out there and who can listen, let us know in the chat if everything is coming through all right. Hopefully the audio and everything is going well. So without further ado, we're gonna bring on the man of the hour, man, Mr. Karl Boyce himself. Karl, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Doing good, man. Doing
You
good.
know all those interviews where you ambush Emily? This is going to be like that, only you're Emily.
Fine. I'm ready. Got my pink 9 ball top on ready.
I saw that. That's very it's a
Mr.
good color. It's a
Mr.
good
Company
color on you.
Man. How's how's that transition been for you, Carl, going into creating a lot of content and starting up that YouTube channel? It's kind of different because you're used to being a full-time pool player and then being more commentary, and then this is kind of a new thing you've been taking on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's totally different, but I'm enjoying it. It sort of started at 2019. Obviously, the Moscone Cup, Mike, you remember when it was in Vegas, 2019?
Yep.
When I went over there working for Matchroom, and I'd sort of stopped playing. And then I had every intention of setting up a YouTube channel on the side just because I thought, well, I'm going to have time in between events, and I had a few ideas what I wanted to try and do. So that's why that kind of fell into place. But I think overall, yeah, I'm enjoying it. Feel like it's a bit of second wind because when I was competing on the circuit, trying to win events or money, whichever way you want to look at it, I don't think I was very professional at all. So now I'm trying to like turn that aroround. Sort of got second wind to try
Elaborate
and
on
do
that,
it.
Carl. What do you mean you weren't very professional? Give us more insight on that.
I just didn't practice. I didn't really enjoy playing. Even when I was at the events, I was probably very negative. Yeah, and the bottom line is I just didn't do it how it should be done. The way like Shane Van Bonin does it, or Joshua Filler, Albin. There's a lot of them who treat it like a proper job. I was like not treating it as a job, and I feel like now it's time to sort of give this a good go.
Was there ever a time where you treated it like Shane does and Joshua does?
No,
Yeah,
not to that extent. No,
yeah,
definitely not. I mean, I was a little bit more professional at certain times for me, but definitely never the way sort of them two guys do. Definitely
yeah,
not. No.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well,
It's a different level.
before we jump on into a few other topics, I want to just give a shout out to a couple of sponsors. So let me just jump to a commercial real quick. Just just for full disclosure, Carl, that was all this man's idea right over here. Mike was the one
I'll
sending the
tell you.
videos to me.
I'll tell you what. I never get tired of that, and here's why. I mean, we can all laugh about it now. You laugh about it now. My favorite thing about that entire video is that Haitulu's face never changes. If you show it again, watch his eyes and watch his mouth. And he sits there and the jaw bobbles in the pocket and he doesn't move a muscle. He does. His demeanor never changed the entire shot. I'm like, how do you do that? It's 7-7. You just got new life. You thought you were done, and he didn't. He didn't budge.
Oh, he was done. He was done. He was all the
Yeah,
way
I
done. He was
mean,
cooked.
yeah, that's what. When I look at it back, I think like what a strange character he must be just to sit there, not even like smirk
Yeah,
or
I mean,
do
he
anything.
he he was like frozen in time.
Yo, I'm gonna tell y'all a little
Prob-
story. So the first year they had the U.S. Open at the Mandalay, he was playing. It was like the final 16, I think, and there was a guy who was rooting on, and he was another. He was like an Asian fan. He was rooting on one of the other Taiwanese players, and he's going off like just loud and loud and loud and kind of obnoxious. I never seen someone give a death stare in the crowd the way that that man did, and I thought for sure he's jumping over the rafters and going after him. It was brutal, man.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
I I remember, like, when I watched it back, I was like, okay, he's not showing any kind of emotion, not even a smile or like, oh, I'm at the table. But it's probably a good thing because he ended up putting actually a really good 9-ball because he kind of messed up the position and he ended up putting a really good 9-ball. But that tournament kind of proves what I was talking about being professional, just because leading up to the event, I just didn't play at all. I just kind of went there trying to wing it. And just the whole match, you could see my cue ball was like, really poor positionally, everything. And then at the end of the day, when you're in the heat of battle like that, someone's got to give at some point. And, it cost me. Probably the best match ever, right?
It's kind of
You
crazy.
probably
You say
got
that,
more
though.
mileage. You probably got more mileage out of that video than if you'd have won the event.
That's true.
Definitely. Sure.
Yeah. It's kind of nuts, though, that you say that because you've had a lot of successes, Karl. You're a multiple-time Moscone Cup champion. You're a World 8-ball champion. The list just goes on and on. I mean, hell, even last year when you hadn't picked up a cue and God knows how long, you end up in the finals of an event that you had no business going and playing in and didn't find out until the 11th hour. So, I mean, that's pretty incredible, everything you've been able to go and achieve.
Yeah, I think probably just down to the fact that the way I played, I was always quite natural. I mean, obviously, I did practice to a certain degree more when I was a child, growing up, playing English 8-ball. But even now, if I was to kind of just show up, I would be able to just probably play to some kind of okay level, just because you kind of remember how to stand and hold the cue and, what side of the cue you should chalk and stuff like that. But obviously, trying to like beat Shane and Filler and Shaw and all them, that's where you're going to come unstuck at the end of the day. And that's when I knew my time was up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you had a lot of really good successes if bringing up the World Cup of Pool last year because you beat some pretty incredible teams. I was looking back at it this morning, the Netherlands 9-1, a Slovakian team in the semifinals that was just on a heater 9-0. You guys were a Cinderella, but you guys have a lot of chemistry. And how important is it for an event like that to really be able to gel with the guy who's standing next to you?
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, obviously, me and Darren, we've won it. We've gone deep every time we've played. We've not had an early exit. And I think even though, I mean, he was playing, but he wasn't, playing to his best of ability. And obviously, people were saying, oh, you'll be okay because you don't care anymore. But, when you get thrown out there and you've got the cue and you've got to play a shot, all this like, you don't care. I mean, you're going to care. It doesn't matter who
Absolutely.
you are. You're trying to pop the ball or, and then obviously when you win your first match, even I was starting to think, all right, okay, this is a bit more money. This is nice. But so then and obviously like in between matches, I was trying to go on the practice table for an hour. And I think Alex Laley did about an hour session with me, just trying to like a speed thing really, just to try and kind of get some kind of speed back up. But I think just the fact that we've done so well in the event over the years, obviously walking back out, it felt like yesterday since I'd played in that event with Darren, and I'm sure he felt the same. But the funny thing is, it's like when we started, it was a case of, right, obviously because it's alternate shot, right, every time it's the first shot, you play the first shot, you break, you lag. And then as the event went on, it kind of switched over to me because Darren was struggling. It was like, I think you got to sit down. I think I'm going to play this shot.
It's kind of a tough spot though, man, because you kind of were set up to be a little embarrassed out there with like no time to go and prepare.
Yeah, but as you've just shown, if you can handle laughing at that 8-ball I just missed, you can handle anything. So
fair enough, my man.
So you're telling me that you got to keep the prize money and get paid for being a commentator?
Oh yeah, double bonus.
That was a good week for you, buddy.
Yeah, they've not let me forget about it as well.
What do you prefer more, Karl?
Yeah.
I was saying, what do you prefer more? Because you guys can't turn when I talk to a lot of pro players that are making a transition, it's hard to turn off that competitive switch. You've been used to playing against champions your whole life and training and, just being in the grease.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think because when I crossed over, other than like the Moscone, like when I stopped playing, Matchroom only had the Moscone Cup, the World Cup, and the Masters. 2 out of the events effectively a team tournament, and one event at the time was only 16 players. So I didn't really feel like I was quitting a whole lot. And obviously, because you guys live in America, you see it like probably through different eyes than my eyes, because obviously where I'm from, it's all about snooker, and obviously Matchroom Sport are such a big company in other sports. So because they weren't really involved that much, and you know, it's like I went to the Derby City Classic in 2016. Yeah, 2016, and I just didn't enjoy the event because I mean I appreciate like the one pocket and the banks. You know, I've tried to play it a little bit, so I understand there's a skill, but it's just not really what I'm about. So I don't really feel like I'm an out and out like pool sort of nerd pool player. Do you know what I mean? I was all about like the TV cameras and trying to like, you know, make money that way, and sponsorships, and, you know, being sort of famous, if that makes sense, that way, not like hustling and trying to play somebody at one pocket where nobody's watching, right?
Right.
So the transition for me, it wasn't really hard, because I feel like in some ways I've always wanted Matchroom when I played to like be the leaders of the game, which didn't happen when I played. So now it's kind of happened, and I always said, oh, can I not just play in the Matchroom events? Which obviously you can't do that, but in some ways I'm kind of doing that now, just without a queue. So yeah, so it wasn't that difficult for me, and as I said before, I'm kind of enjoying it. It's different. People seem to like my commentary. I never thought my voice or my accent would be good enough or be okay, but it seems to be going okay. So yeah, it's been pretty easy, really.
Well, yeah, and it must be something natural. Like you said, you're a natural pool player. You didn't practice as much as a lot of the other players, and it seems like you're, you know, quite honestly, pretty natural in front of the camera and with the mic in your hand. There's a lot of guys who have the knowledge and who think that they can be good commentators, and really they're not that great. But I think you do a really credible job, you know, from a professional standard standpoint. So how was that transition as easy as it looked? Did you study? How do you pay attention when you're watching other sports about how commentators and analysts handle matches and handle play? Do you think about that stuff?
No, I think the good thing for me is the fact that when I first did it, when I first went in the com box, I was almost a little bit frightened to talk, so I decided not to talk that much, which I think is kind of a good thing. And I just think the way I went about it, I sort of realised there's not going to be a lot of people watching. There's not going to be millions and millions of people watching who understand pool, right? They're not going to really understand the game. So that's why I don't really go into the shots too deep and, you know, oh, he's got to hit low, right, centre and do this. Because I think if you do that, you're talking to another pool player, right? Somebody who understands the game. So I'd rather keep it like really basic and generic. So yeah, I didn't really study anything. I just kind of fell into it that way and just kind of do it my way, which is good because it means I'm not worried about anything. It's just a natural thing.
Yeah, it seems like you're a lot like to me like a Jim White, where you can be a play-by-play guy and an analyst at the same time. You know, a little bit between like say Jeremy and one of the Michael Bridge or something like that, kind of an in between thing. So it's to me it's a really, you fit into a really nice spot there. So I would imagine they're pretty happy with what they've gotten out of you.
Yeah, I think they are, and I think obviously the last few tournaments they're kind of pushing me down, like interviewing, but obviously social media stuff. So like off the rail or maybe behind the scenes or things like that. And I think they're going to push more of that, which is the thing out of all of it that worries me a little bit, because then you're not talking about pool, right? If I have to talk about pool or the game or who the players are, then I feel like I've got a little bit of inside info. But when you're trying to present, obviously you're doing it now. It's a different angle. So I am going to put a bit of effort into that because that's not going to come natural to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're writing your own material now. You're kind of writing the script and have to think it through. Yeah.
As where even like when me and for the World Cup of Pool, we're doing the draw for the event. So I'm at home, Emily's in the office, and then it's kind of all done through Zoom, and I'm listening, and then they edit it into the video. So I'm filming myself and then sending the content, and then it gets put together as as the video. But obviously, when you're like have to open the show up and then talk about it, it's just a whole different ball game. So
Yeah.
I feel like I need to, as you said, Michael, maybe watch people how they go about it, watch Bridgie and everyone else really, and kind of pick up things like that. But I think if you want to do something like that, good or good enough, I think it's just a case of making sure you've got all the stats right, like the dates, the right venue. And, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The important
always
stuff,
helps. It helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we did the draw, I kind of like made a little mistake. I said, "Oh, the winner of like Great Britain A and B will play Philippines." But it's like in my head, I just thought not so much that Philippines had a bye. It was like they're playing South Africa, the Philippines, which obviously it's going to be a tough match for them. But in my head, I just had it like they were playing Philippines.
Yeah.
And then online, it's like, "Oh, he's so disrespectful. They're going to play a match." I was like, "Shit, yeah, they do have to play a match."
We hate to break it to you, boys, but you're up against it.
You mentioned, people posting online, and when you're a commentator like you're doing, you see a lot of the things posted online about the level of the commentary, or who they like and who they don't like, whether it's affiliates or whether it's whatever. Do you read much of that stuff? Do you think about it? Does it bother you? Do you pay attention to it at all?
No, I think anybody who's, obviously pool players, we're not in the public eye. We might be famous within the game, but I don't know. I think people on social media, people just write stuff and they're not really thinking. They're not really thinking, or they don't know anything about it. But the one thing I have noticed, I don't read loads of it, but obviously you can't go on your own Facebook page or anything like that now without somebody. It always seems to be that Matchroom pool forum that comes up online.
That place can be brutal, man.
I don't see much of you. I just see like random people, like So I do see a little bit, but at the end of the day, no, I'm not really bothered if.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you do a really good job of staying on your toes and being real witty. And not just that, but you have a lot of personality. And I think that bodes well for doing more of the social media stuff, because you can keep it pretty light and entertaining, where it's not too serious, but yet you're still, like, as a fan or a viewer, you're still gaining something from that experience. But while it not being so stiff, because I think it's personalities like you that really will bring on those new fans into the game, because it's not going to be so by the book, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's just my character. Even at the events, even if I'd got beaten, I'd be like probably the first man at the bar. Or even when I weren't beaten, I would probably still.
Yeah, right. I remember.
But yeah, I don't know. I never really took myself too. I just kind of get on with it. I think just the fact that Matchroom have got more events, and that's allowed me to be at the events, and obviously. Because they've got more events, they're trying to get it a bit more where it's the same commentary or Michael Bridge presenting. They're trying to, even like the grey cloth, the purple 5, the orange 5. They're just trying to get it where it's going to be consistent. And I think the big thing is what I've learned, even from when I'm playing till now, is pool's in a bad place. You know what I mean? You're talking about a game here where nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows the rules. Nobody, there's a lot of different forms. I know people are going to think I'm biased, but I'm not biased. It's just probably the fact that I live in England, and obviously Matchroom are an English company, and I see what they do in all these other sports. I think they're the best chance pool's got. And obviously I'm not even playing on the tour, so it doesn't really kind of matter to me in that sense. But yeah. I just think when you look at all these other events that you see, or you might see on Facebook, and they're in pool rooms and people are wearing jeans, and you're playing all these different games. You can get lost. You guys are involved in the industry, and I'm sure you've had friends who don't know nothing about billiards, and they're like, "Oh, what's 10 ball? What's one pocket? What?" And it's like, it's hard to keep up yourself. Never mind like a complete randomer. So I believe they're the best chance pool's got, and I think many of the players do as well, to be honest.
Sure.
Have you ever thought about, now that it's the calendar's filling up for Matchroom, give it another swing, like full time?
No, I think a few people asked me that, but it's it's still, in my eyes, a long way off where I'd be tempted to put a queue together and kind of like start traveling around the world again. You know, I think we're a long way off that yet still. Like I said before, I think Matchroom have got a massive task on their hands here to try and, obviously they've got boxing, they've got darts, snooker and things like that, and they've all seen dips and highs. But I think when, they've took on pool and it's right at the bottom and they're trying to build it to something, I think my time would probably pass. Maybe Filler will be okay. He's still a young man and Fedor. They're probably going to reap the rewards of this one. I think I'm done. Yeah. But I think just the fact as we sort of open the show up, I think it's just given me a different angle, coming from the media side of it and the YouTube and all that. And I feel like I would rather put all my focus into that and see where that leads me personally.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's a big piece of the bigger puzzle, Karl, of what you bring to the table, honestly. And I gave you a little bit of shit last week or whenever the UK Open was about like maybe some biased commentary, but it was all in good fun. I think part of it is that people like to have heels in sports, right? And I think Josh does a good job of like maybe playing that villain role and
Yep.
whether and I'm sure some Europeans may not appreciate a commentary like from a Germany, so to speak, and I think that's part of it is bringing up those visceral feelings of USA versus Europe and a little bit of a biasness, but you bring a lot of color to the table, and I think that's what separates you. And what I've especially appreciated from you is lately on your YouTube channel, because I'm not big on following a whole lot of YouTube channels, but yours I do, and one of them is you've been giving it quite a bit to calling out Matchroom, even though you work for him, putting Emily on the spot, putting her in tough spots, asking some difficult questions, and I think the fans respect that from you a lot a well.
Yeah, how come we can't get away with asking the tough question?
Never.
We asked a tough question, we get hammered.
Yeah, but I think it's probably the fact that obviously Emily knows I've played in Moscone Cups, and when she kind of first come on the scene, I was a player, so she's probably thinking like, well, he is a player, and how many players can she keep listening to, or God knows how many players come up to her and ask her about this and ask her about that. So maybe she's kind of thinking, well, not that I'm like a player rep, because I'm not. I don't mean that, but she may be thinking, well, he's an ex-player, so he's got to understand the playing side of it to a degree.
Yeah.
Well, you keep them honest, man, and we appreciate that, and it's a lot of fun. But let's transition a little bit to the big event coming up, World Cup of Pool in a few weeks. Yep. Put on that pundit hat, and what are you expecting out of the event, Karl?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favourite events. Just the fact that obviously no one can really relax. There's always seems to be a good story that comes out of it. I think the fact that Efren's back playing, God knows what kind of level he plays at now, probably still great because it's Efren, but I don't know, has he just been playing in the Philippines or something? I don't know. Does anyone know?
I saw him at the Derby a couple of years ago.
He played in the SEA Games this year, the Southeast Asian Games, but he played one cushion. He didn't play 9-ball or any of the pool games. He played one cushion, and I think he medaled.
Whenever I had seen him at the Derby a few years back, he looked like a shell of himself. But when I saw him at the Derby this past year, he still had a little pep in his step. He had some game to him, and I was real surprised after seeing him a few years back. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think for if he's going to play a pool tournament, probably the World Cup's the best one for him to play, just because Biard can kind of take the lead a bit and play certain shots, and he might not have to make loads of difficult shots to go deep in the event, but kind of interested to see how he gets on, probably like everybody else. I don't know, I'm trying to think who else really. Maybe Great Britain, seeing how they get on, because obviously Shaw's not playing with Melian.
Let's talk about that. You've got the two teams and they drew each other in the first round, which was brutal. But I think everybody would have assumed that Chris would play with Jason because they're good friends and they've played it before. It seemed like it was a conscious decision to split them up. What was your take on that?
I think obviously if Darren wasn't banned, it would have been Darren. Obviously he's banned, so he's out. And I think the next man on the rankings was Elliot Sanderson. I think the fact that Chris Melling's been playing English 8-ball and he's not been playing 9-ball, I mean, he's lucky he's in the event to start off with, because he's playing a different game at the end of the day. And I think obviously Chris and Jason have just not really done it, have they, together? They've played in it. Everyone's expected big things because obviously 2 great shot makers, and it's just not happened. So I think
They
all
never
in
had any
all,
chemistry on the table. They always seem to
what
like be
happens?
fighting each
What
other.
happens there? How does that happen?
probably like 2 big egos want to play the big shot, because they're so talented and so good. Probably just a case of that as where, I don't know, obviously, Skyler can, outperform Shane in that event easily, but you still feel like Shane's going to be a bit of a captain of the team, right? Even like myself and Darren, it was like we had our little system where he'd play every safety shot, kick shot, and if the first shot was a pot, I'd play the pot, and we'd see how that would go. So I just think with Jason and Chris, it was just a case of they didn't really have a system or anything in place. As where I think Jason and Elliot will, because I think Elliot knows it's going to be all about Jason. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy because. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was kind of like Filler's partner last year was just, try not to mess up because I'm with Joshua Filler.
Yeah, exactly. But the beauty of that event is obviously when you come to the table, you can decide who plays the shot. You might get a few shots where you think, well, you've got to step up now, of course. But a large part of it, you can manage it pretty good. But I think maybe this year we're going to see, somebody like Spain, even Greece, surely one of these teams who have not, won that event. I think it's about time they kind of stepped up, especially Spain, because obviously David and Sanchez, it was always really David, wasn't it? But now Sanchez is like turning into one of the big players. Obviously, they're such good friends. You would expect them to have a good run at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it a lot of game planning with you and Darren last year, or is it more of like you've been here, done that, you trust each other, kind of like where your place is with one another?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just you play every shot, Darren, because I've not been playing, and then obviously when he was struggling a little bit and I was getting a bit more feel, you can sort of mix it up. But you got to try and have a laugh as well. I mean, obviously it's a race to 7; it's pretty cutthroat, but
y'all had zero expectations. Y'all were free rolling a big part of that.
Yeah, you were when we won our first match, we kind of fell over the line a little bit, and then our next match we had a tough team. It might have been Greece actually, if I remember. We had a team like that where it was Kazakis and Nick Malai, and obviously they're playing, but it's just experience, isn't it? It's like Shane and Skyler. They've played doubles together in the Moscone Cup. They've played in this event before. It just matters so much, in my opinion, in that event. But you're always going to get a surprise package as well, aren't you? There's a few teams where it's going to be quite interesting, but it is one of my favourite events to watch or play in, or whatever. Just the fact that it is just so different playing a shot each.
I think it's pretty exciting, and I agree with you. It's one of my favorite events and has been for years. But it's pretty crazy because I was realizing this today. 3 out of the 4 players in the finals last year aren't even going to be in the event.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Josh is gonna be the only person that was in the finals last year that's gonna be back and actually playing. So it's pretty remarkable. I wanted to ask you about a couple of other teams, Karl. One of them being the addition of Max Lechner to the Austrian team.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like people. I did see a few things where people were saying about Germany, Chris, he's not playing with Josh again. But the problem is, if you're not playing on the circuit, it's hard to give somebody a place, isn't it? At the end of the day, when you're just not active, and that's what I was getting at before. Just to go off subject again, pools like you're talking, it's like right at the bottom. Do you know what I mean? There's no like proper structure. There's no, obviously Matchroom have got their rankings, but they're still trying to level out and find out. They're still not 100% perfect yet. So you've kind of just got to try and make the best decisions really moving forward. And obviously, like Albin's won it twice with Mario He, but Max is higher on the rankings. So if he misses out, you're going to get some people saying, "Well, he's not got his chance." So you everyone's got all these mad opinions, right, about everything.
Yeah, sure.
You've just kind of, I suppose, it's like Slovakia, right? Was it Slovakia?
Yeah. Last year.
They're not in the event. They got to the semi-finals. It's just tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Who do you like sleeper-wise?
Well, let's have a look. I've just seen you put the. Well, you did put it up. Can you put that back up?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. This is the left side of the bracket, boys.
A sleeper, tricky, isn't it? I think Spain. They're not in a bad little section there, are they? I'm not saying they're a sleeper, but I suppose they are to some degree, aren't they? In that event?
I mean, out of those 4 teams at the bottom, I really like them being able to make it through. I mean, I think Albania might be able to give them some struggle, but I see them getting past Australia pretty easily. I mean, they're both playing
Yeah,
really great.
I think it's wide open as well this year, to be honest. I suppose you could argue it always is, but I mean, Holland, they've been to the final twice. They're a good team out there. They're good friends. Germany, that's going to be an interesting one. Greece, I like the fact that Nikos is back playing with Kazakis. Chinese Taipei. It's a tough one. Good luck picking it.
Hey, but that's what you're here for, Karl. So we're putting you on the spot. Who do you like coming out of the top? Who do you like coming out of the bottom?
Coming through that section now, I'm going to say Spain get to the final.
Nice. So you mean out of the whole left side, you like Spain making it through?
Yeah, I think they're going to make the final, yeah.
Yeah, I like them with their chemistry. What say you, Mike?
It's hard not to pick them. I mean, you got 2 guys who made the semifinals of the UK Open. You know, David's always been a tough competitor, and like Karl said, Sanchez now has reached this level where he's in consideration every event he's going to be in right now, right? So you got to think, and they know each other so well, and
they seem like really good friends. Every time you see them anywhere, they're always together.
Yeah, so it's hard to pick against them, but race to 7. If one player is struggling, the team struggles. So this is a great event because it is kind of a crapshoot. But if you had, if you were the odds maker in Vegas, you'd have to give Spain the best shot.
Yeah, and I think as Michael's saying there, it's obviously a bit of a rat race at the beginning, but it was always a case as if you're playing, just get to the quarterfinals because then it's a race to 9. You're just desperate to get to that quarterfinals because you've got a little bit more breathing space then. But I just think Great Britain A and B. I'm not too sure how that's going to pan out, to be honest. Like I said, Chris is not playing a lot. Imran's not really. When he did well at the UK Open, but played filler and made a few mistakes. I don't know how they're gonna. I think the A team should probably beat the B team, even though it's a race to 7. And Elliott's an unknown at the end of the day. We just don't know how he's going to perform with Jason. So I've really got to like Spain to get to the final on that side of the draw.
I've asked a few guys, but I want to ask you the same question, Karl. How different is it to be under those Matchroom lights compared to like an outside table?
Oh, it's massive because obviously people are watching at the end of the day. Everyone's watching. As well, when you're on the outside table, there's no cameras on or anything like that, and usually that's where the top players may get beat and the weaker players may win. As well, when it's on table 1 and that's that, it's the opposite way around. That's where the best players shine, don't they? And that's the beauty of this event as well. It's all on one table, which is great, really, because everyone gets the same opportunity. Everyone plays in the same arena, same table. Everyone's watching, and that's what it should be about, really.
I'm gonna go against Spain on this one, boys. I'm gonna go with Chinese Taipei as I can't call them a sleeper, but the Koch brothers seem to be catching a bit of a rhythm at the UK Open. They seem to be hitting on all strides. I actually think they're probably the second favorite behind Spain on the left side of the bracket, in my opinion. Pretty dangerous. But what's crazy, man, is that it's a race to 7, and the way that the balls are breaking the last 2 events for Matchroom, World Pool Masters and the UK Open, I mean, it's gambling. I think anybody can go and get there in a race to 7.
Yeah, I mean, I presume they're playing on 4-inch pockets again, so that's going to make some kind of difference, you would think. Especially when you're cold, you can't really loosen up in that event. So it's going to come down. It's going to come down to like somebody pulling off a big shot. But I don't think Chinese pay are a sleeper, right? Cole's won it before. It's a bit of a cheeky bet, that one.
Well, I mean, okay, then who would be the dark horse then out of that side? Because if we're saying Spain and maybe Chinese Taipei are favorites, who are you liking maybe as a sleeper on the left side?
I think a sleeper really would be maybe Great Britain A. The fact that I know it's Jason Shaw, but he's done nothing in that event, and Elliot Sanderson's a complete unknown.
What say you, Mike?
Sleeper, Netherlands.
Yeah.
I like Niels always plays well in Matchroom events. He's done this pretty well. Mark Veesterbach has played, fairly well. The events I've seen him in this year, he's had some good matches. So, they can catch a little bit of a roll if they can get to the second round and upset Germany. If Germany makes it to the second round, then then they got a little bit of momentum going into that, those quarters. So if I had to pick a sleeper, I'll go with Netherlands.
I'm with you, and I like them in that second round if they end up facing Germany because I don't know what I'm going to get from Thorsten. I mean, I know he's a multiple-time world champion. I know what I'm going to get out of Josh, but it's a two-man team, and I like Mark and Niels' chances there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a brutal second-round matchup for the defending champions.
I'm not 100% certain what Matt Edwards' partner plays like Singleton. I can't quite remember because Matt Edwards, last time I'd seen him in match events, he'd improved a lot. He's a dangerous player. So if Singleton can just hold himself together and maybe pot a few, I just can't quite remember what he plays like. You never know. Because I'm with you, Mike. I think Thorsten, he's going to be a bit of an unknown. The last few matches he's played on table one, when I've been commentating, he's missed a lot of balls.
It is. Well, let's switch over to the right side of the bracket, boys. So this is going to be on the side where Austria's at, and the juicy matchup at the bottom of USA and Canada. Who do you like, Karl?
Who do I like there? Let's have a look.
I know who Mike's going to pick. Mike's going USA all the way. That's every event.
Yeah. Brutal.
Like picking the favorite.
No, I don't like USA's chances. I think if USA gets to the finals through this bracket, they earned it.
Without a doubt, because I think those four at the bottom are brutal. Every single one of them. Hong Kong and with Loho Sum and who's his partner, Mike? I can't think off the top of my head, but Loho Sum, we all saw him at the World Masters.
Yeah.
He's playing
Capito.
phenomenal. Yeah, Robbie. Yeah, Robbie's playing great pool.
Yeah.
Robbie's playing phenomenal pool. USA and Canada, that's difficult by itself because Alex is playing great. John's been playing really good lately. Poland, world champion.
Yeah, so and then whoever comes out of that group above them with Japan and Czech Republic, Hungary, that's like I said, if US gets to the semis, they've done a good job. They've had to beat some good teams.
I like Austria in that section.
Yeah, I think that they've got the softest quadrant.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first match can be tricky, of course, or the first two really, because we've said race to 7.
Man, betting against Mika the last 2 years, I'm telling you, he ain't. It's hard, man. Because I've lost a lot of money betting against Mika. It's brutal.
I know what you mean? I think Mike's called it there. Just that top 8 section, really. It's the better section of the draw.
Yeah.
I mean, you got it depends on what max is going to show up. If it's going to be the PLP max or if it's going to be the max that we saw in the World Championships.
Well, I think that Max and Albin are so good. They're like they've gotten to be kind of a Sanchez and David type of combination. And Albin is such a good calming effect when he plays doubles at Moscone. Whoever's playing with them just has to feel like they love their chances because Albin's going to get them where they need to be. If they get out of line, Albin's going to get them back in line. Albin's going to do it without even, raising an eyebrow. He's calm. He sticks with it. And so I think that he'll have a good effect on Max playing doubles. I think that that's a really strong team.
What does he really bring to the table, Karl, that's different from a team standpoint? From a team standpoint, and his successes in Moscone in the World Cup, and also, we all saw what a devastating year he had last year.
Yeah, I think just to start off, the fact that he's just really good.
Yeah, pretty good. He can make a ball.
Yeah, just the obvious things. But I just think experience. When you look at somebody like Albin, Josh, Shane, who are at the top of the game right now, just the fact that they've done it all, they've seen it all, they've won so much. They've tasted bad defeat, good defeat. They've done it all, haven't they? So I just think the fact that he's obviously still such a young man and he's had success in the Moscone Cup. He's obviously won this event. He's won the Worlds twice, been to 4 finals. He's just done so much in the game, and I think he just seems to be that type of player, a bit like Darren used to be. He always seemed to play the right shot, as well. Like maybe Filler and Shane, maybe it's not always the right shot on paper. Obviously, is there a right or wrong shot? Maybe there is or there isn't, but they just always seem to play the right shot, the right safety shot. They know when to, go for the shot or when to just hold back a little bit.
Yeah, Albin's one of those. He's a little bit of an anomaly because everybody talks about how cool he is and how he's just so measured and never up and never two down. Whatever. But when he does go on tilt, he goes on tilt.
Oh, yeah, he used to be bad when he first come on the scene. Back in the day on Euro Tour, his cue would get. He would literally just launch it to the chair, the chalk would go. You know what I mean? He's like really turned it around, but obviously he's probably got people around him and the psychologists, coaches, or whatever. And
yeah, a lot of therapy.
You're just not going to go that far when you act like that at the end of the day. But you still see it now and again. Even though he won the Champions League last year, we did see it.
He didn't look like he was going to get through the second day.
Yeah, I know, right? But he just has. All the great sports people, they just have a way of winning, don't they? And he seems to do that, like Shane does. When I look back at the World Championships, the way Shane come back and beat Mika, and then obviously you think he'll probably go on and win the event. When you look back, really, there's always something in an event where you think, fuck, that could have gone so wrong. Like Joshua, when he played Alexa Purcell's in the quarters at the UK, he could have been out. And then he comes with a great finish, and then they're stood there with the trophy and the cash, aren't they? Always.
They find a way.
What do you think of
in every walk of life, don't they?
What do you think of Kuwait? And are you surprised that Al Youssef's not on the team?
I think if it was up to Matchroom, he would have been in. I think obviously a lot of these teams are not just picked by Matchroom. I know people think that, but it's down to their federations and things like that. A lot of it. And I think
it seems like some are picked by the federations and some are picked by Matchroom. So how does that work?
I don't know the actual in-depth of it all, but obviously at some point, ideally, we would have a proper tour where there's a proper ranking and just the top two are in, right? But obviously we don't have that. So I think some of the teams, it has to be done by federation. And obviously we don't have a federation here anyway or nothing like that. So Great Britain team could never really be picked like that. So it probably goes off the Matchroom ranking. But Kuwait, that's a bit of a shame. No disrespect to their team, but obviously the way he was playing, it could have been a dangerous team. But you never know. Obviously they're good players, aren't they? He's still a good player. Badar, is that how you pronounce it? So they could be a little bit of a sleeper there. You never know.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think they are. And if I'm going to go and pick a sleeper in that area, it's Kuwait 100%, because I know Al Youssef's been getting a lot of credit the last, let's say, 6 months, and deservingly so.
Yeah.
But Bader been playing really well in his own right in the last 12 months also. And to me, to be honest with you, out of the three, aside from Omar making it to the championships of last year, I ain't really seen him since. I don't know where he's been, even whenever he's playing an event. He seems to be kind of an afterthought just as far as his finishes.
Who's Aloysius Yap playing with again? I'm trying to. I'm
Hanto.
Who?
Hanto, the older gentleman. It's not Sharik. It's the other guy. I think it's Hanto. I don't know his first name though, or maybe that is his first name. I don't know. But they're a tough team. I think they'd be a tough team as well.
Yeah, I think Vietnam are not too bad at all. Actually,
all right, so who's your favorite coming out?
Say again?
Who's your favorite, Karl, coming out of the top? Are you still going to stick with Austria?
Yeah, I think Austria. I know they're not a sleeper, but I think Austria, if I was to pick a final, who I think it's going to be, I'm going to say Spain, Austria. But if I was to pick a team who maybe would be a complete sleeper, if you like, I'm going to go for Switzerland.
Switzerland?
Who's on the Switzerland team? I don't even know who's there.
It's Peter Youngo and
and
Regli.
Yeah. They just matched up playing the Polish guys there in Bucharest, playing like a race.
Yeah, you never know.
20-something.
That's what I mean. They're good. They look good to get to the quarters. I know Naoki always playing with the same guy he played with last year, but his partner didn't look that strong. They're good to get to the quarters there, you feel?
What say you, Mike? Give me a favorite and give me a sleeper.
I'm going to go with Austria as favorite, and I'm going to go with. It's hard to call Poland a sleeper, but that's who I'll take coming out.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I'm gonna go with either one of those two teams out of that Poland match to make it to the finals, Poland or Hong Kong slash China. I think both those teams are playing pretty lights out. Um, the Polish players have just been on a tear the last few months, and it seemed like, and me and Mike talked about this quite a bit, just about them like making it to the last day but never delivering when it's time. And I think a lot of those guys are making that next step into like pool stardom. You know,
No, I know what you're saying. I'm just trying to find Hungary. I know it's Vilmos Falls. I'm just getting on my phone here.
it should be Oliver, Oliver and
They'll knock
Vilmos.
it.
Yeah,
Vilmos
Oliver's
and
playing good
should
too.
knock it. You never know. That's a decent team, right?
No, without a doubt. All right, Karl, we're going to transition just a little bit to the Moscone Cup because you obviously got a lot of experience there, being the former vice captain. I want to get your opinion on who you think is going to be making the team come this December.
I don't think Europe's going to change that much. I have a feeling Sanchez is probably going to make the team. So
Who
how's
would
he
he
going to
replace
play in
then?
the event? Yeah, I think. Well, I think he might go in on the rankings. So all depends, doesn't it? It's the top three, isn't it?
Yeah.
So probably going to be looking at that. It might. I mean, obviously, it can change a lot. I know that.
Right.
Yeah, one event.
But I just
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I just think, obviously, he's won the Derby City Classic 9-ball, and then he got to the final. I just think he's not going to fade away, is he? Now he's just kind of having that season, isn't he? So I think he's going to make the team. I think obviously Filler and Albin, maybe let's just say they're the top three.
Right.
I think Jason's a lock, obviously, so that's 4.
Agreed.
And then don't know. Tricky last pick.
No.
Come on, now you got.
We ain't letting you off the hook that easy, Karl.
Yeah, you're not a vice captain this year.
I'm going to pick because I'm on the fence. I don't care, do I? I'm going to say. So what is it? Let's just say it is Filler, Sanchez.
So it'd be a wild card then, because we're assuming that Albin, Filler, and Ruiz are going to be on rankings. So Jason on the wild card. So one more on the wild card then.
I'll say Al-Qaeda.
Okay,
that's pretty strong. Yeah.
Just because I think he would be a good guy to be in the team for Sanchez's first one, because in 2019 Vegas was loud. I've never seen it like that. That was like the American fans have finally like copied Europe fans, right? It was like crazy. It's like, wow, okay. So I think, when Fedor played in it for his first time, he didn't play in a proper Moscone. There was no crowd. So it's hard to judge how you're going to handle that situation. Yeah. So I think if Sanchez makes the team, it wouldn't be the worst move for Laley picking out
protect him a little
because, bit. You've got that comfort of the doubles and all that going on.
Yeah, protection would make sense for sure.
Yeah, but who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think?
And you would want someone else with experience because you'd already have one first timer in there with Sanchez. So whoever you're going to pick for your second wild card, you would think would be someone who's played before, so that you don't have 2 first timers on the same year.
Yeah, you've got to do that without a doubt.
What say you, Mike? What do you think?
For Europe?
Yeah.
Well, it could. I don't see Filler, Albin, and Jason. 2 of those 3 are going to be in the top 3, and the third one's going to be a lock cinch. So it's what other guys can sneak in there, and it can all get turned upside down in one tournament. You get the U.S. Open, all of a sudden somebody, Victor Zielinski wins the U.S. Open and gets, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 out of it. All of a sudden, it's, he's right in the equation. So it's hard to guess. I mean, based on this ranking here, I think it'd be hard to go against what Karl was saying. If Sanchez is a pick through the rankings, the idea of having someone to protect them like David and having someone experienced like David would be probably the smartest move you could make.
I remember talking with Alex last year and asking him what he's looking for, and experience was a big factor. And I think that's a great angle to go and analyze it from, making Ruiz, who's going to be a rookie in that kind of environment, because the Moscone Cup sold out in record time. I think those USA fans are going to be nuts. I think he may be shaking in his boots, and having his friend there sitting right next to him can go and kind of make him feel a little bit more comfortable, if that's even possible. I think it just depends, like you guys say, whether or not he's going to go and make the team. And I like Ruiz to go and make this team, and I think it's deserving. It's
what will be interesting if Kazakis and Sanchez qualify on the rankings.
Yeah, sure.
If that happens, obviously we're going to say it's going to be Filler because he's quite away in front. Let's just say it's Filler, Sanchez, and Kazakis. That throws things up a little bit.
That's a whole other ball game because
then you just pick Albin and Jason, right?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you would think you'd have to do that, but I just mean obviously then you've not got like Al-Kaidi to sort of nurture a rookie.
Well, I think
who's going to nurture Alex? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to consider Alex like he's a rookie. I mean, he's played a couple of times and hasn't played in all that great, but
he's
been in that environment before.
Yeah, I mean, there's events where you've struggled in where you don't really want to go back and play, and that's the Moscone. You go back there with that crowd, and you've struggled. You only have to look at Tyler Steyer. Like last year, because he missed a few balls. As soon as there was like a bit of a tricky shot, the crowd was like they knew.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's what you brought up. You brought up Federer before, and he didn't play in front of a crowd, but he was pretty weak that first day. Moscone Cup in the UK, and I think the fact that you guys were rolled out to about a 7-1 lead allowed him to play a lot better to second or third. But if it had been tight, it would have been interesting to see how it affected him. Did you think it affected him the first day?
Yeah, I thought he looked a little weak the first day, and I think it would be interesting to see how he plays in front of a big crowd, because I don't care how good you are or what you've won, if you've not played in front of 3,000 people screaming lunatics, well, you've not played a professional event yet, or a proper event, whatever. So you just never know how players are gonna, probably like the greatest player in modern history, Shane Van Bonen. We've seen how he can struggle in the event because it's just a whole different experience, experience and one pocket and bank pool. It kind of all goes out of the way. It's just all about holding yourself together and just not missing a ball, really. I know that sounds easy, but I think the big thing is going to be like Team America. What are Team America going to do this year?
What would you say, Karl? You've watched a lot of these guys play.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously Shane's a lock, Skyler's a lock. I don't know where Billy Thorpe's at. He was he brought a good vibe to the team, really. Like a bit of good energy and. Obviously for the doubles and stuff, I just don't know. I mean, there's got to be something coming through, right? I see JJ doing a lot of these youth clinics. There's got to be something there, right?
It's going to be a 12-year-old on the team.
What about that young girl who I keep seeing? Savannah, is it? Get her in the team. The one thing I will say is obviously it's good to see more Americans traveling overseas to 100%. Play in these big singles events, because that's what's going to get you the experience. I mean, Shane Wolford, he's been sort of, he's not been going out early on. He's not gone deep, but he's kind of there, isn't he? Day 3 or 4, he seems to be lurking around. And even when he gets beat, it's like 9-7 or whatever. So maybe he could be one. I thought Tyler Steyer were going to be one for the team, really, but he seems to have gone backwards in that event a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's struggled a lot so far.
Billy's been playing.
What's happened to Bergman?
Yeah,
where's Bergman gone?
He's staying at the house.
Such a good player. He was such a good player for the Moscow.
Yeah,
he was a
great player. Great player. Do you mind if I go back to Federer? I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, Karl.
Yep.
Give me your thoughts on the ban on the Russian and Belarusian players. And we had the WPA sports director on a week ago. I don't know if you saw any of that. And he mentioned that when the WCBS convenes at the World Games, they're going to bring this up again and try to get, his vote would be to allow them to play again. One, what do you think about the ban personally? And two, if Federer was allowed to play after July, is he consideration for Moscone Cup?
I think just to start off, if he was allowed to play, Obviously, he may, let's say, play US Open and the European Open whenever that gets scheduled in. He's obviously going to have to do fairly good there, isn't he? Because you kind of feel he'd have to get through on the rankings. You can't see the captain picking him as a wild card because it would be like picking a rookie. You know, he would be a rookie playing in front of the crowd. So I don't see why he would get that pick, even though we all know how good he is, but he's still a rookie in front of the crowd. So I think the only way he would get in is the top three. So he's going to have to go some, isn't he, to finish in the top three. And I think at the end of the day, the ban, I mean, I don't really understand it. It's not his fault, is it? There's frigging war going on. What's he got to do with Fedor? But it's just unfortunate, you know what I mean? It's probably a little bit way over my head. It's just a shame, really, that he is banned.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't think... know what was the president of the WPA's view. I just don't know. It's probably like way over my head.
I think it seems to me that the whole thing is based on the WCBS's relationship with the International Olympic Committee and their fear that going against the IOC's request or recommendation would put them in bad light. So I think that's the political end of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my dad sort of brought me up saying, don't talk about three things: football, women, politics.
Football, women, and politics. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he taught me. But I mean, obviously, we all know what a nice kid Fedor is, you know, and obviously Christina as well. She's in a similar boat, isn't she? It's just a shame, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of all over our head, isn't it, really?
It's a terrible situation, but I'm with Karl. I think it'd be real tough. Like, if Federer dominated in the year that he did play and was just overwhelming, then I think it's different. But because it may be a struggles even when there was no crowd, and given the rankings for the whole year, I think it'd be really tough even if they did go and allow them to play, which I think they should. It's just
let's say that he plays and he does the European Open and the US Open, both televised events, and he does great on the TV table and finishes in the top 2 or 3. Then even if he's just outside that money list, you'd almost have to think about him because you're talking about a guy who's stepped in right away and has shown he's still one of the top couple of players in the world. So I mean, again, it's all a long shot.
I think it depends on where the big three end up, because you expect Albin, Jason, and Josh to make the team no matter what. So if they were to somehow get in on rankings, then it's different, because then you really have two wild cards. But if they're not in the wild cards, you expect them to go and be picked up.
Yeah, and I know Alex is like a huge fan of Fedor's game, you know, because Alex, he's like he's a pool nerd, isn't he, Alex?
Yeah.
He loves one pocket and all these funky games. And I know he's like a massive fan of Fedor. Obviously, with Fedor doing what he did at the Derby City Classic, that just shows you, the kind of like knowledge he has in his brain for such a young. So I know Alex is a massive fan. I think just like what we've discussed, if he doesn't get in the top 3, he ain't going to get in the team.
Yeah.
I'm with you. All right, let's get you out of here on this, Karl. World Cup pool. Oh, go ahead, Mike. You have something?
No. I saw a couple Oscar mentions there, which we did not mention for Team USA, but you got to consider Oscar for sure.
Oh yeah, no, 1,000. And you know what? And for the rest, I like Billy too, because I think Billy's been playing some great pool. Going back and watching him from the Expo, and then seeing how well he did in the World Championships, I think it was. So he's been playing great. And Oscar, if it's my 5 today, I'm going with Shane, Sky, Billy, Wolford, and Oscar. Not in that order, but those would be my 5.
You didn't pick your boy Chris Reinhold?
I'll save Chris for you, my man.
Listen, I might just get the cue back out for that game. Don't tempt me.
Right, now, but before we go on to your last thing, Mike, I do have to. I want to put Karl on the spot here on a Matchroom question, because he does it to Emily all the time. But all right, let's say you were Emily's boss.
I'm Emily's. No, not
easy.
Easy. What's the first thing you're changing about what they do at the tournaments?
First of all, I'm going to get cue racks for the arena, because when we play these multi-table events, all I can hear is cues crashing down on the floor.
Oh, God.
So buy some cue racks, put them all over, and let the players put the cue on the rack. Dude, my head in it is. That's the first thing I'm going to do. The second thing I'm going to do, obviously, it needs a bit more thought, but I would bring in win the lag, run the set prize. I'm not saying it's easy to do that or, whatever, but they've got the contacts there. I think that would just give the whole media, it's all about talking points, isn't it? And I just think it could be harsh for somebody to sit there. And I don't know what your views are on winner breaks and alternate breaks, but as someone who's played the game, I prefer winner breaks because I've tasted the pain on both sides of the coin. And I know winner breaks can always let you back in on a match. But I just think if you could have like a winner, run the full set out, a decent prize, cash, car, holiday, I don't know, something to talk about. Maybe like a gold bracelet or something, I don't know. Just something where you can get the media involved. And I think when somebody's playing and they win the lag and they run the first 3 or 4 and then they don't really have a shot, are they gonna chase the prize, or are they going to play the push out? It just gives a different dimension. And
imagine if they're on 6. If they're on 6 going to 7, they're firing.
That's what I mean. And I think that to me is where you get people talking on social media. Obviously, Mike, you write a lot of stuff. You'd be there writing about it, wouldn't you? It just gives everyone a different look and a different talking point. So they're the 2 things I would do straight away.
I like the the prize for, running out. I think, when you get into these sets and they get to 9 or 11 or 13 in the final, it's, you're only half paying attention. But a race to 7, it's a possibility. It would have to be obviously winner breaks. And it's not hard to do that. I mean, that's basically just an insurance policy that you sign up for. And you do a $500,000 prize or something based on what an insurance company will give you for those kind of odds. So I think that's a great idea.
I think the only problem you would have is if it was like, let's say, the US Open, and you've got 24 tables. How do you do it for every table? Because it's something you want to physically see, right? You don't want table 20. You don't want people to start getting like, there's a rumor he's on 4 racks over on table 20, and there's no footage. So it just needs a bit of thought, doesn't it?
Well, you'd have to have a camera at every table. I mean, the insurance company would make you have a camera at every table to start with.
Yeah, or I mean, I don't know how fair this would be, but when it gets down to the last stage, it's like the final 16 and everyone's on the same table or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I love the idea because you know what? I have my ESPN app, and when someone's like through 6 or 7 innings of a perfect game in baseball, I get a notification.
I'm in.
And even if I'm not a fan of that team, I want to watch and see if he can go and get there. I think it's a great idea. I really do.
And has it ever been done in baseball? Because my knowledge on baseball is so like poor.
Yeah. There's been 20 or so perfect games, but it's
but it's rare, right?
It's very rare. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I mean. I think with pool, let's just say from like the last 16 at the US Open when it's all on that one table, and if it's race to 9 or 10, I mean, to win a breaks on a 4-inch pocket with a tough break, if we see the tough break come in at some point, which I believe we will, that's going to take some doing that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's not, it's not only a case of holding yourselves together. To do that on a 4-inch pocket where the break can be tricky, you're going to have to pull off some shots here and there. That ain't going to be easy.
And again, I think one of the interesting things is, it could be at a point in the match where what if you're trailing? Well, you'd have to do it from the leg. So if you're up 6 or 7-0, but you're playing Josh or Shane, are you going to gamble on a shot in that 7th rack, or are you going to duck?
It depends on how much that prize is. It depends
on how much the prize. If it's 10 grand, you're probably ducking.
Yeah.
If it's 150 grand or 200 grand, you might be taking a shot at it, right?
But I think the big thing for it is not just like as somebody who's involved. I think it's more thinking outside the box to get people who don't have a clue what's going on talking about it. Rather than it's just a game of pool race to 9. It's like, what happens? It's like all these games that go on. I don't have a clue, about like one pocket and bank pool, and I have tried to play them a little bit, and I'm not very good at them. There's other guys who obviously excel at them, but who's going to sit there and watch one pocket on TV? Just ain't happening in this modern day world, is it? You
down here.
Yeah, but you're like a small percent of.
That part's true.
Yeah,
I like the chess match though.
Yeah, but you see what I mean? It's like you're like a hardcore, but it's trying to get. I'm not a massive tennis fan. I mean, in the sense of I don't follow the tour, but I was watching Nadal because I'm just interested to see if he can win 14 French Opens and 22 majors.
Final. He dominated
that's
that
it.
final. Yeah.
You know, the guy who played in the final and the semi-final, I ain't got a clue because I don't follow it enough. But it's all about that story, isn't it? So I just think if we could have like a bit of a story where it's all about talking points, isn't it? I think that's the big thing I've learned since I've stopped playing. I've got into it from the other side of the angle. You want to create some stories.
Yep.
At least for the national media to go and pick up, and I think that'd be one of them. If the prize was juicy enough and someone went and snapped it off, I think it might be picked up. You know?
Yeah.
I mean Earl did it, and back with the CJ Wiley tour, and if that would have been a Matchroom event on TV, it would have blown up.
Still be watching it now.
All right, man. Let's get you out of here.
Earl's birthday too. FYI,
it is.
It's Earl's birthday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
June 14th to the 19th.
What about Earl for the Moscone Cup? We've left Earl out. Surely he plays now.
Would you put him back in?
Why wouldn't you? Why was he there last year?
Well, last year he was playing a lot and doing pretty well. This year I really haven't seen him much. That's the problem to me.
Yeah.
No, but you see what I'm saying. Last year he was playing. He was supposed to be playing good.
Right.
He was in the team.
They
wanted him in the team. So I don't understand why he won't be in it again this year.
I mean, if you're going to put effort in the World Cup, give Earl another swing. People would tune in and watch. I guarantee that. People love watching Earl.
Vote Earl. Let's get a vote going. Vote Earl for the team.
Who do you got winning the World Cup, Karl?
Spain.
Mike?
Spain.
How can, out of all these teams, both of you donkeys pick the same team? Oh, man, that's rough.
We're front runners.
That's rough. I don't even know where to go from there. Yeah, I want to see a storyline. So let the old man and Carlo go and make a deep run. I think that would be pretty special. And if they would,
fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that can go and trump what Karl and Darren did last year, because that was truly a Cinderella. Honestly, people love watching the greats go and play, man.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty sweet to watch them go pretty deep. To be fair,
comparing Karl and Darren to Cinderella is a real reach.
Well, but nobody expected anything out of him, Mike. That's my whole thing, And Efren, I mean, there's like 10 Filipinos they probably would have put ahead of Efren if it was just on a playing standpoint. But everyone's going to be tuning in. I know I will, and I'm sure you boys will as well. Karl will be there. And Karl, we appreciate you taking the time to go and join us today. It's been a lot of fun, man. So we thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All right, boys. For showing the 8-ball as well.
We'll show it again on the out. We'll show it again on the way out.
Listen, the funny thing is actually that 8-ball, right? I can't remember what month it was, but that year when I played the US Open, it was the year I got to the final. And I played High Tao twice in that event.
In the US Open?
The US Open. I played that guy, the Chinese guy, who I missed the 8-ball against. I played him I don't know, maybe final 16 or something. I can't remember. Or however it works. I played him, and then I played him again. You know when you commented the other day, Mike, when you about the 8-ball, I said, "Oh yeah, you don't talk about the comeback, do you?" That's what's funny. That's what
I know my storylines.
The guy who I missed the 8-ball against, I actually played him 2 months later, twice in the US Open.
Who'd you lose in the final to?
Kevin Chang. What's happened to
Kevin Chang. That was the Kevin Chang year, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's still alive, that guy? What? Is he not playing
seen him since.
Karl, we appreciate you, man, and we know it's been a little bit, but yeah, man, thanks a lot. It's been a lot of fun for sure, man. And we'll get you on again soon.
Everyone tune in.
See you soon. Cheers.
9-ball.
9-ball. One more.